What's happening, guys? Good morning, Europe. Good day, everyone. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch TV in an effort of bringing the financial markets to your doorstep and help each and every one of you make informed decisions about investments and the amazing CFDs markets. The episode today is sponsored by our partners at Forexy and Markets.com. If you like what you see, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and support us in delivering more great content. Feel free to type any questions you have and interact with me during this live broadcast, and I will do my best to answer all your questions. Once again, good morning, Europe, and welcome everyone to the European trading session. We start the day with European currencies, giving back some gains on the Asian session, but with no stimulus deal on the table yet. There might still be room for another rally for the euro and the pound versus the US dollar today. After an optimistic start at the US opening yesterday, the US dollar index traded lower at 92.80 overnight, making its lowest level since September 2nd. Nancy Pelosi said before starting talks with Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin that there was still a chance for a deal despite resistance from Senate Republicans, though she acknowledged the bill might not pass until after the US elections. Crude oil futures dropped after the crude oil inventories announced yesterday, adding to heavy losses overnight after a build in U.S. gasoline inventories pointed to a deteriorating outlook for fuel demand as COVID cases soar in North America and Europe. Moving on to gold, guys. Gold futures gave back some gains overnight as well, but still trading about the 1900 level, currently trading at 1916. And with the USD potentially set for another drop today, investors might raise their take profit levels to the 1930 level if gold will give signs of strength after the European opening. Later on today, the most expected event is the final round of presidential debate between U.S. President Donald Trump and the Democratic candidate Joe Biden that will take place in Nashville, Tennessee, and also initial jobless claims along with the existing home sales to be announced at 3:30 GMT plus 3, respectively 5 o'clock GMT plus 3. Moving on. In other news, the McKinsey survey of more than 2,200 companies in 5 countries, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and Britain, found that 55% expected to shut down by September next year if their revenues remained at current levels. We're talking about the small businesses in these 5 countries. Tensions between the U.S. and China mounted again yesterday after Secretary of State Michael Pompeo designated 6 more Chinese publications as foreign missions or media outlets controlled by Beijing. Beijing replied that they will retaliate to these statements. I'm going to share the article with you in the next couple of minutes. Let's not forget that the earnings season is still in progress, guys. Probably one of the most difficult earnings seasons in years. And today we have more companies announcing their quarterly figures for stock traders. Some of the big names announcing today are L'Oreal, Unilever, and Michelin on the Europe front, and Coca-Cola, Intel, and AT&T on the US front. Let's move on to the charts, guys, and see how the markets performed overnight and what's expected to happen today. We start with crude oil, which we see dropping heavily after the U.S. Inventories today. A bit of correction has started on the Asian trading session, but nothing solid yet. Overall, oil is still in an uptrend. If you draw the trend channels, bear with me for a second. There we go. Right. It still didn't manage to create lower lows. There is still a bit of hope that oil prices might stabilize. However, guys, with the oversupplied market and little to no demand, and a lot of countries announcing harsh measures, for the second wave of this COVID pandemic, it's very hard to believe oil could stabilize around the $50, $55 or $60 mark just yet. Keep an eye on the charts and let's see what the markets will bring for us today. We're moving on to the euro, guys, which dropped a bit overnight on the US trading session, made a tiny correction on the Asian trading session, and today at the market opening, guys, bear with me for a second. I'm going to go on a 5-minute chart. Yeah, we see a green candlestick shortly after the opening, but we know the markets need a bit more time to stabilize. As I was saying earlier on, there is still room for improvement for another rally of the European currencies versus the US dollar today, if the US dollar decides to keep on dropping in the absence of a stimulus deal on the table. I'm going to share a very interesting article with you guys regarding the European stocks and the European business sentiment. Okay, and that might wait a bit on the progress of the European currencies versus the US dollar. We're looking at the pound, which is currently trading at 131.27. We see a negative opening for the pound with the RSI in the overbought section pointing downwards, and the stochastic currently trading in the oversold section as well. Okay, let's see what the markets will do in about half an hour, 45 minutes, once they manage to stabilize. We're looking at the USD JPY, which done fairly well during the Asian session, but as we see right now, it seems to be continuing the downtrend. The Aussie dollar, very small progress for the Aussie dollar. The last couple of trading sessions were okay for the Aussie dollar. It managed to push a bit higher. Okay, let's see what's going to happen later on today. Still no news from Australia. We're looking at USD Canadian, which done a bit better following weak numbers that were released yesterday on the Canadian dollar. Okay, that might be the only reason why the USD did better yesterday versus the Canadian dollar. We're looking at the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones, guys, which despite a positive opening yesterday, they managed to close the day in red again. Okay, as the stimulus stocks keep delaying and delaying. We're moving on to the US dollar index, which again, we can see the big drop that happened in the last few trading sessions since Monday, with small correction overnight. Okay, and we see a positive movement as things stand right now, with the US dollar index trading at 92.76. Okay, let's see what's going to happen. Gold gave back the gains that it had yesterday, currently trading lower at 1918.05 or 1918.15 as things stand right now. It might be just a tiny pullback. Guys, we saw a correction of 100%, judging by the latest peak. Let's see, is gold going to be ranging? Overall, looking at technical analysis, we see gold creating higher lows and higher highs as well. Okay, which again gives a bit of hope that gold is continuing an uptrend. Therefore, the US dollar index might be seen trading lower for today at least. Moving on, we're looking at Brent oil futures, which again traded lower overnight and on the American trading session and the Asian trading session as well, currently trading at 41.69 with no sign of improvement yet. We see the RSI and stochastic very, very weak, not having the power of trading at least 50% of the overbought levels. Yeah, they are below, they're trading below the center line, the median line, which usually implies a potential downtrend. Looking at the Bitcoin, guys, your favorite, which is currently trading at $12,799, $12,800, which had a fantastic rally yesterday and in the last couple of days. Probably on the back of a weak US dollar. Yeah, we saw Bitcoin moving very, very well along with gold. Okay, in the last couple of trading sessions. Now, let's see what interesting articles we have, what might weigh heavily on the progress of the European currencies. Okay, let's start this article from the beginning. Right, European stock markets are seen opening lower today as investors fretted about the lack of progress in the talks over a new U.S. stimulus package, while mounting COVID cases continue to weigh. Optimism surrounding the potential for new COVID relief package dissipated late Wednesday after President Donald Trump accused Democrats of being unwilling to come to an acceptable compromise over the size of the package. While Trump had previously said he was willing to accept a large aid bill, it was clear that there was also deep opposition among Senate Republicans to such a hefty stimulus bill, amid worries that it could hurt their November election prospects by adding to rapidly rising budget deficits. That said, the two sides are expected to continue talks later on today in what looks an increasingly unlikely hope that a deal can be reached before the November 3rd presidential elections. Meanwhile, the COVID pandemic continues to play havoc. Spain became the first Western European country to exceed 1 million COVID-19 infections yesterday, doubling its tally in just 6 weeks, while the US, the number of COVID-19 patients in the country hospitals hit 40,000 for the first time since August, according to a Reuters tally. Oil prices weakened yesterday, adding to heavy losses from the previous session as official inventories added to worries about the outlook for fuel demand given to surge in COVID-19 cases. Okay, and U.S. Crude futures traded 0.6% lower. Now, the article I was telling you about, guys, is that over half of Europe's small firms fear for survival, survey finds. Yeah, very interesting article. This is the article that might weigh heavily on the progress, the positive progress of the European currencies today. Over half of the small, medium-sized companies, which together provide jobs for 2/3 of European workers, fear for their survival in the coming 12 months, according to a survey released by management consultancy McKinsey today. The survey was conducted in August before the current acceleration in new COVID cases across Europe that is forcing governments to impose new restrictions on activity and prompting speculation of fresh national lockdowns. The finding comes as warnings multiply of an impending wave of business insolvencies, and as the International Monetary Fund and others urge the region's governments to double down on state support to help companies weather the COVID pandemic. The McKinsey survey of more than 2,200 companies in 5 countries, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and Britain, found that 55% are expected to shut down by September next year if their revenues remain at current levels. At the current trajectory, one in 10 small and medium-sized companies were expected to file for bankruptcy within 6 months. Economists polled by Reuters last month forecast that the euro area economy would grow by just 5.5% next year after a fall of around 8% this year, but warned that even that patchy recovery was vulnerable to a further spread of the virus. Small and medium-sized enterprises are defined as those with 200 or fewer employees. In Europe, they employ over 90 million people, but their small size makes them vulnerable to cash flow crisis. In Spain, for example, 83% of the 85,000 businesses that have collapsed since February employ fewer than 5 workers. Right, now I think you understand the importance of this article, guys. Let's see what's going to happen. We see a recovery next year, a growth of 5.5% following a drop of 8%. So even though it's way below expectations, it's still on a positive note. Okay, let's move on to the next article and see what is happening with gold, what's expected to happen from the gold point, and also what's happening with the tensions between U.S. and China, the newest tensions. Tensions between the U.S. and China mounted after Secretary of State Michael Pompeo designated 6 more Chinese publications as foreign missions or media outlets controlled by Beijing yesterday. Yeah. Now, China was quick to react, with Global Times editor-in-chief Hu Jin tweeting, "The U.S. has gone too far. The move will further poison working environment of media outlets in each other's countries," adding that China will definitely retaliate if the media outlets suffer actual harm from the designation. Okay, very, very interesting. Again, more and more ways to, on the U.S. Front, on the U.S. dollar index and on the U.S. stock market. On top of that, President Donald Trump and House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi made earlier remarks that raised hopes for measures to be passed before the election. Investors continue to doubt Congress' ability to overcome Senate Republicans' opposition to the package's price tag. Okay. Gold futures were down 0.6%, trading at 1,916.40. Okay, at 12:51 a.m. Eastern time. Right, back to the charts, guys, and see what is happening with the major assets after the European opening. Right, we see oil on a positive, currently trading at $40 flat. If it's going to respect the trend, okay, then we might see oil correcting a bit today, at least half of the drop. Yeah, at least to there. That's one side of the things. Yeah, the other side of the things is that we might see a breakout, and oil price might go further lower. Yeah, probably aiming for the $38 dollar mark or the $39 mark as the closest take profit level. We're looking at the euro, guys. Let's have a look at it on a 5-minute chart and see what is happening after the European opening. Okay, a bit of progress, a bit of progress, a bit of positivity on the euro side of things today. Okay, after the opening, let's hope that's going to continue for a bit longer. Okay, back to the pound again. European currencies are on a positive note this morning, but it's still very, very early to say if they're going to continue like this during the day. On a 5-minute chart, we're looking at the RSI and stochastic pointing upwards. Okay, no sign of pressure yet. Okay, so keep an eye on the charts and see what's going to happen later. The US dollar index, again, the US dollar index is dropping as things stand right now. Yeah, it's currently trading at 92.71. Okay, and by the looks of things, it might go down to the 92,500 level for a short position. Okay, later on today. Yeah, we see the RSI and the stochastic pointing downwards. We see the RSI, again, not having the power of pushing through the 50% level. Okay, it's bouncing off the 50% level, and usually that indicates a bit of a downtrend, a bit of selling power on the markets. Now, quick look at the economic calendar, guys, and then we're going to move to some trading signals from investing.com. Right, what is happening today? Obviously, the most expected event is the final round of talks between Donald Trump and his counter candidate Joe Biden. Okay, we're going to have the CBI industrial trend orders to be announced after lunchtime today on the British pound. Okay, and at 10 o'clock, we had a press conference from the ECB. Later on in the afternoon, guys, we see the initial jobless claims and the existing home sales, okay, expected to be announced on the U.S. front. Okay, let's see if they come out positive. Then, after the U.S. opening, we might see a bit of a correction on the U.S. dollar. If these numbers come out positive, if they come out negative, then unfortunately we might see the dollar dropping even further. Okay, on a lot of pressure. Now, I was telling you it's the earnings season, guys, and we have a lot of companies announcing their numbers today. Okay, as I said earlier on the Europe front, okay, we have L'Oreal and Michelin announcing, and on the U.S. front, we have Intel Corporation, Coca-Cola, AT&T, and also a bunch of other small cap and mid cap companies. Okay, for the stock traders. The most difficult earnings season I have ever witnessed in my 10 years of career, guys. I have to be honest with you. I have never witnessed such a thing and such tremendous pressure on the American economy and on the US dollar. Now, I was telling you something about trading signals here. Let's have a quick look at some trading signals after the European opening. We see the euro still very, very undecisive. We see it on a strong sell on a 5-minute chart. The daily remains a strong buy. Yeah, the pound the same. We see it strong sell on a 5-minute chart. The 15 minutes and the hourly signals are still neutral. So probably the markets need a bit more time to settle. We're looking at the USD JPY, guys, set on a strong sell on all 4 time frames. Okay, USD CHF very, very undecided today. We see the Aussie dollar on a strong buy on 3 time frames. Okay, USD Canadian strong sell 5-minute charts and strong sell daily charts. Euro JPY strong sell on 3 time frames and sell on a daily chart. Okay, and the pound versus the JPY, again, we see it on a strong sell. Okay, the markets, by the looks of it, did not manage to settle yet, guys. Give it a bit more time and have another look at the trading signals. Let's have a look at commodities and see what investing.com thinks about commodities today. Right, we see gold in a strong buy, which usually means a bit of weakness on the US dollar index if gold is set in a strong buy. Hey, we see silver following with very weak buy positions, but still they are in green. We see copper in a strong buy on at least 2 or 3 of the 4 time frames. Crude oil WTI, again, a strong buy short term, for a couple of hours, as well as Brent oil, again, on a strong buy for a couple of hours. Most probably, guys, we have buyers coming in on the market after the European opening. Okay, playing on the drop, that oil futures suffered overnight on Brent oil as well as crude oil. Okay, so probably they're trying to buy it when the price is low, and they're going to ride it for a bit of time. Okay, if you want to be very, very cautious, guys, remember, you have the option of setting up a take profit level halfway. Yeah, you don't have to necessarily set a take profit level at the top of the trend channel. You can set a take profit level just above the center line. Yeah, just in case we're talking about a very small correction in oil, and then a ranging market in the lower side of the trend channel, or as I said earlier on, we might see a breakout today if we have a lot of sellers coming on the markets. Okay, so very, very careful with trading today. All right, this is what is happening on the Europe side of things, guys. Sorry, join me after 4 o'clock, shortly after 4 o'clock, for the US opening. We're going to have more details about how the assets move during the day, more trading signals. And after the US opening, guys, you are more than welcome to join myself and Giovanni, the passive trader, for another round of Dumb Money with Giovanni. This was it from my side today, guys. See you after 4 o'clock. Until then, remember to trade responsibly, and may all your trades be in the money.